Episode 3891, Create Margin to Do What Matters.
Moms, it's time to rediscover, rejuvenate, and renew who you are in mind, body, and spirit. Welcome to Create Your Now, Your Best Selfie, the show to help you do just that. Here's your host, certified life coach, personal trainer, and nutritionist, Christiane Wargo.
Happy day. I hope you're ready for an extraordinary event. You know what it is. It's Thanksgiving week. And so it's all about blessings and what you're doing to live out the dream that God has for you here on earth. Create margin to do what matters. For those of you who are brand new to Create Your Now, welcome to this incredible family. I'm so delighted of your presence. If you already even had the opportunity, you want to head on over to createyournow.com where you can learn more and to sign up for the Kisses newsletter, the Keep It Simple strategy, everyday solutions to live, love, and impact. Well, this episode is brought to you by AIM, Inspiring Connection and Community. You know, far too often we're caught in a relentless cycle of putting out the fires, responding to the demands, answering endless messages, right? The text messages, the emails, all of it, attending meetings that don't move the needle. We have to show up because, well, we're asked to, or we said yes too many times before saying no. Our days are dictated by everyone else's priorities. But what if that didn't have to be your reality? What if you could break free and create margin to do what matters? I mean, because imagine this moment as a fork in the road, right? Thanksgiving, I think of this week as a blessing. The old season is burning out, yet you're stepping into a new one where you call the shots on your calendar and your energy, what you're going to work on, what you're not going to work on, how you're going to change things. And maybe you're looking at a career shift. Maybe you're looking at retiring. Maybe you're looking at writing a book. Maybe you're looking at, going home and staying home and being a mom full time. This isn't about slacking off on responsibility, right? But it's choosing where you invest your time and your heart. So what if creating margin now was truly the spark that reignited your capacity to dream big again and see what's truly possible? So today, this whole week, I want to invite you to pause, to rest, to push back on overwhelm, to pause the chaos, to say, you know what, I'm not doing this. What I've been doing hasn't been working. I want to make space for something different in my life. What if you were just to accept that invitation? My friend, margin isn't just empty space. It's the launch pad for growth, rest, creativity, and impact. Don't you think it's time to create margin? That is your kiss to keep it simple strategy. Create margin. You've got to create that space, that time, an interval in your day that says, I'm not going to be all foggy. I'm not going to be clouded with everything else, all the other stuff that I don't have control over. What I am going to control is where my next step is going to be. One step at a time leads to miles of greatness. And you get to decide that. You get to make today a moment here in time to create margin and reclaim the ability to do what matters. Because you matter. And if you have something that's deep within you, deeply rooted, there's nothing wrong by looking at it and saying, what can I do to work on that a little bit more? How can I bring that to life, that part of me? Because really, what lights you up? I was watching football this weekend. Have you been watching football? Well, it's interesting. I'm going to jump to the NFL. I'm going to leave the college guys out of it on this round. But I was listening to some of the commentaries with the NFL, and I actually agreed with one guy, and I honestly cannot remember who it was. But I have been saying the same thing, where this has been a different season for NFL. It has been. You know, I mean, you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, even the Buffalo Bills have had some issues. There's been tons and tons of injuries across the board. Some coming early for some teams, some coming later. Some that are just like changing the whole landscape as to who they have on their offense and defense, let alone their special teams. And I think about how these coaches go in and day out going, okay, we've got this new team and we've got to create margin to figure out how to beat them. We've got to come out on top. We've got to win the game. because there are people who are winning that you're like, how did that team even get to that position? And you've got some that are losing. You're like, how did they get to that position? What if we were to take a page out of the Dallas Cowboys? You're like, wait, what? Yes. So, good old Jerry Jones, right? Owns the Dallas Cowboys. Well, he fired his head coach. I say fired. I don't know that for fact. Okay, the head coach from last year is no longer there. I'm sorry, I cannot remember his name. You probably know it. But anyway, he was let go or he quit, however it went. And you've got Dax that's still there as a quarterback. And they decided, who can we bring on? Who is some fresh blood that can liven up our team and do really what the owner, Jerry Jones, wants done with his Dallas Cowboys? Really wanting to resurrect the team. Well, they brought in Brian Schottenheimer. That is Marty Schottenheimer's son. And it's very interesting. He has since passed away, Marty has. But when their season started, it was not a good season. Now, understand, this is the first time Brian has been coaching the Dallas Cowboys. And I think, don't quote me on it, but I think this is the first time that he's been the head coach of an NFL team, I think. Regardless, right? They did a little kind of, I don't know what you would call it, but just a little snippet talking a little bit about Brian's background and his relationship with his father and how his dad would be so proud of him today because he thought he was getting too old and he would never be asked or have the opportunity. Well, interestingly enough, the opportunity came up, and when you think about it and you look at kind of how everything fit together, there was margin in his life, and it was the time. And sometimes we're just so busy that we don't create that. And so when Brian came on board, Brian Schottenheimer, when he came on board this season, started redoing things, the Cowboys didn't start off real well. In fact, they even ended one of their games in a tie, which I think is crazy, by the way. Total sidebar here. Why would you ever have a NFL game ever end in a tie? That does not make any sense. The rules are wrong and they need to be changed. Okay, that's just my opinion. Now, back to where we were on creating margin. Well, but they kept going and going, right? Now, understand, Brian is sitting here trying to redo a team, build them back up again. That doesn't happen overnight. But he had to figure out how to create margin to do what matters, and that's to win. And so yesterday, they played, hold on, I got to think back in my memories. Dallas Cowboys played Philadelphia Eagles, right? Who are they? You know who they are. The reigning champions, right? Of the Super Bowl. They beat Kansas City Chiefs. Well, guess what? They were ahead. The Eagles were. And the Cowboys, not doing too great. I think their record was either like 3-4-1 or 4-3-1. Okay, and 1 is the tie, which again, I think is crazy. Regardless, okay, they were down. It was like 21 Eagles, and I want to say it was like 9-ish, okay, or something like that, roughly. Anyway, long story short, halftime came and went. We're in the third quarter, and all of a sudden now, I think it was getting close to fourth quarter, they made a score, and it's now, I guess it was 21-7. They made another touchdown, and it was 21-14. Then they made another touchdown, and they tied it 21-21. Finally, they get to the end, towards the end of the game, with I think less than a minute left, and they kicked the winning field goal to win the game when they were down. At one point, 21-0, honestly. That's where it was and set for a while. I'm like, this is going to be a boring game. Seriously, I thought that. But it ended up being a dramatic game of impact. Because while they were playing, you could see that they were shifting and doing things differently. And slowly, the Dallas Cowboys have come from a losing streak at the beginning of the season to figuring a way to win. What do you think they had to do to get there? They had to create margin. They had to create that space to say, we got to do something different here because we weren't doing it right before. So if we're going to make changes, we have to figure out how to make those changes. So what if you had your own football team? And you do kind of. You have your family. They're your team. But even though you're on the same team, you may still need to have that space. You've got to create that margin. How do you do it and reclaim the ability to do what matters? Number one, get ruthless with your to-do list. Stop letting your to-dos dictate your worth. Review your list and cut out or postpone anything that isn't tied to your core goals or values. Which means you got to learn to say no or not now. And when you do that, it's not passive. It's a strategic act of self-respect. And this purge creates room to focus on your highest priorities instead of juggling every demand tossed your way. I can only imagine the craziness of the workouts during the week with the NFL teams. And think about the Dallas Cowboys, right? We're going to go to them. We're kind of focused on them today. And if they were only focused on, I got to look good in my outfit, so I'm going to stick more time in the gym instead of, wait, maybe we need to work more in the field. Maybe we need to work our running game or our passing game. And who am I passing to? Come on, Dax, what does that look like? And going and doing rep after rep after rep after rep over and over 1,000 times by the end of the week or more. And then what do you have to do when you work out that hard? Then you've got to go and ice and relax and learn how to rest. And then you got to review film because you got to know the team that you're playing up against. You got to see what they've been doing to the other teams because they are winning. I think their record at the time that they played yesterday was 8-2, I think. It's either 8-2 or 7-2. When they have the bye weeks, it throws me off always. So I'm not sure. I think we're on like the 12th week. And so anyway, you got to get ruthless, right, with your to-do list. Stop letting your to-dos dictate your worth. And when you do that and you say no and you say yes to the right things, you're being strategic. That allows you to create margin. Okay, then number 2, set non-negotiable boundaries on your time. You've got to block chunks in your calendar that are sacred, meaning that you set them aside and those blocks are appointments with yourself. They're non-negotiable. You don't give them away. There's no meetings, no calls, no notifications, nothing. It's for you and you alone. And this is where you use time to work on the projects that excite you, that you're passionate about. Maybe it's time where you sit down and say, I've got to figure out my finances. I've got to plan for our future. Or maybe it's to literally rest, to recharge, to think. When you control your schedule, you control your life. I didn't say you have control over your life, right? You don't, because a lot of things that happen to us or come at us, it's our response to life. But we don't control it, but we do control our responses. But the one thing we can control that will help us in how we respond and how we're acting in our everyday is what? Controlling our schedule. And that comes from your yes or your no. So set those non-negotiable boundaries and say, these are guarded for me or guarded for whatever it is, whatever project you're working on, whatever needs attention based on your definitions, not mine, not anybody else's, yours. And then finally, number 3, disconnect to reconnect. Turn off the constant pinging of the emails, right? All the alerts, the DMs, the social media distractions. Set it aside for a while. You can do it every once in a while, but just turn them off if nothing else. You can go in to social media when you want to. You don't have to have the notifications on all the time. And let me tell you, it makes a huge difference. I know I've done that. I'm not on social media a lot, but I get notified when other people are. And I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. I can't have my mind. I'm focused on one thing and all of a sudden I hear something and I have great hearing. And so, distraction. Mute it. And when you do that, this creates mental space to think deeply and innovate. Because every single time you get distracted, you go off, it takes anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes to get back on track. And let me tell you this, and I know this from experience, is that when you're really into something deeply rooted and you're just like working it, all of a sudden there's an interruption. Now it's different if it's an emergency. Okay, we're not talking about those. We're talking about, oh, you've got something on the TV or you've got something that's on your phone that pings you, like social media, a text comes in, whatever it is. And all of a sudden it's like, wait, who was that? And then your mind begins to wander. Next thing you know, you're trying to figure out what you're going to cook for dinner, that you need to do laundry. And then also you got to get the puppy dog. All of a sudden you just remembered to the vet because he hasn't been feeling well, right? All of a sudden that's all in your mind because of a crazy individual noise that went off that's right next to you. Stop it. You don't have time for that. You've got to create that space, that mental space to think deeply and innovate. And when you're not constantly reacting, you can move from surviving to thriving, from firefighting to forging your own path. It's great to be a firefighter, but not when it comes to, wait, I didn't say no to the right things and I missed out on the yes to the wrong things. You got to think about what you're doing. Think about where God has you going, the plan He has for your life here on earth. This season, give yourself permission to create margin, to clear the clutter holding back your vision. It's not about neglecting responsibilities. It's about choosing which battles deserve your energy. What do you need to be fighting for? And you see, here's the good news. The more margin you create, the more you'll realize that your goals, your dreams, they're not out of reach. Truly, nothing is impossible. Is it going to take some time? Yes. If you want to start a business, it may take you 3 to 5 years to be profitable in a manner that maybe you can walk away from what you're doing now or not have to worry about anything, depending upon what you're doing. But it takes time. And then when you realize that nothing is impossible and you can do these things, maybe you'll start chasing what you need to be chasing instead of waiting on the other side of where busyness lies. Don't hang out there. Get rid of the busy badge of honor. You owe it to yourself to start now, to create your now, right? Because after all, what's the point of running so hard if you don't make time to do what really counts, what God has placed on your heart? Life is too short and life is too precious. So it's time to run your own race. It's time to get into the game like the Cowboys did and said, you know what? It's okay. We're starting fresh. We're going to do this and we're going to learn the drills. We're going to learn. We're going to move to the next week and then the next week and the next week. And now 12 weeks in, they come from 21 to 0, right? They were 0, 21 points behind last year's Super Bowl winners. And oh my goodness, they win by 3 points at the very end of the fourth quarter. Now that, my friend, is just a heartwarming, you got 'em, boys. Way to go. Way to put in the effort. And that's what I want to tell you. You got this, my friend. You can do what you want to do, not because you want to shove it in somebody's face or whatever. No. It's truly from the heart saying, I know I'm meant to do this and this is what it looks like. And you may not be able to make all the decisions and quit your current job and do that. It may take some time to do what you want. Maybe you want to buy a new vehicle, right? It doesn't have to be some career change or dealing with the kids or your husband, right? Maybe it's something so simple as, I really need a new car. Okay, let's figure that out. What does it look like? But sometimes it's hard to do that if you're handling everybody else's stuff. Have you ever taken time off from work or just to be home? Gotten a babysitter to go and just think? I know that sounds crazy, but we are so busy, so wrapped up. And I know I lived this the last 3 days. It was a fabulous weekend, but it was a very full weekend. And so I understand when you're burning the candle at both ends, when you are answering to everybody else, it's hard. And maybe you're setting expectations too high for yourself even. But don't give up. Instead, create that margin to do what matters most. Go in peace, be present, be incredible, be you. I love you so very much. I cannot wait to see you on the other side. Blessings, hugs, and lots and lots of love. Hey, we'll talk to you real soon, and happy early Thanksgiving. Bye.
Feeling inspired, ready to train for life and love your journey? Visit createyournow.com for more incredible resources to help you along the way. We'll see you next time on Create Your Now, Your Best Selfie. And remember, always be sure you consult your physician before beginning any health and fitness plan.